Hey, 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 all. Hope everyone is well. How are you? I'm Mary Kerwin, for those of you who don't know, and this is Tuesday. And today we're going to talk about when you and your spouse or significant other or your in-laws or your own family have different ideas about how you parent. And sometimes they're just a little different, and sometimes they are you feel like you might be on different planets. I know this doesn't only happen when you are talking about your kids. It could happen about the way you stack a dishwasher. It can happen about the way you make a bed or do the laundry. It can happen almost anywhere. But what do you do when you're at this difference? You go to grandma's house and grandma walks around stuffing cookies in your kid's face, and it's like 2 minutes before dinner time. And or you can look and your husband is throwing your baby in the air and catching them. um, or you are out at a meeting and your tween is allowed to go to a friend's house at night on a school night. um, or you think grades are very important, and someone else thinks that they're not, that life's so much more important than grades, and a million other things. So what do you do now? What do you not do? Having a big blow up, especially in front of the kids, not only won't solve the problem, but it leaves scars. Things are said that you mean, but are said in the wrong way. So, but how do you handle disagreements and work together as a team for the sake of your kids? So a little backup. You have to remember that each of you have your own unique experiences. You have your own way of playing with your kids, or no matter how old they are, and you have your own way of being quiet, time interests. Um, you come from different places, mostly, and that has to be acknowledged and respected. Um, after teaching for over 40 years in the classroom, I can tell you, children at a very young age are smart enough to realize that they can behave certain ways with certain people and not with others. So when these disagreements come up, they should be discussed in an age appropriate fashion. I know that daddy let you do that, but that's not what I like. That I'm not comfortable with that. Um, and not do I look like your mother, or I am not your father. You can't do that. But just in a way, you do those are the things you do with your mother or your father or your grandma, but not with me. Um, the other thing is that when you are in the throes of this disagreement, and this is again where it comes in, where my um, always advice is to pause and take a deep breath. But not to keep these heated moments, not to have these heated moments in front of the kids. You can point out that you're really worried about certain things, but not in front of the kids. Because you have to remember, it's not personal. They're not doing it to you. They're not doing it because you said not to do it. People behave the way they behave because that's the way they behave. If it can't wait and you have to say something in front of the kids, do it smart. Be smart about it. Do intelligent. Watching you calmly work through some disagreement can be beneficial to your kids, but it has to be calm and it has to be respectful, and it shouldn't be personal. I know there's a lot of should and has to, and that's not really my thing, but in this case, it is. Um, Name calling is definitely a no-no here. Um, Respectfully talking it out, and again, stopping and pausing and taking a breath always helps. Um, the other thing you have, which would be most beneficial to you, would be to let go of the shouldas, let go of the have tos. Be open to the fact that some things, many things, when it comes to parenting and child rearing, are not going to go your way. You cannot control somebody's behavior. You especially can't control somebody's baby when you're not there. Um, and you're going to have to accept the fact as much as you can. Accept the fact that grandma's going to will not stop feeding your kids cookies or whatever else they might like, ice cream, and let it go. Uh, Turn your back or close your eyes when your husband throws your kid in the air, or someone else throws your kids in the air. You might be uncomfortable with these, but your kids will benefit because they benefit from varied experiences. They're not always going to be with you. Things are not always going to go your way. And when you hold on to that, and yes, we know best for our kids. I say that too, but you can't control other people's behavior. So when you let go of that, um, there'll be less strife and stress in your life. So, to reiterate, honor their past. They're coming from a certain way, and sometimes when you criticize the way someone does something when it was done that way for them, they feel like you're criticizing them in their past. So honor the past. Present in front of your kid as a team, kids. If you, and be open to change, or be open to the fact that not everything's going to go your way, even though we know that better what's best. And think that and remember that your kid benefits from these varied experience. They have a richer experience with life. And so that's it for today for that. If you have not yet registered for tomorrow's work-life balance workshop, it's going to be short and sweet. I don't believe in taking a lot of time, and but packed full of information and strategies for you to be able to rule your day, and be a calmer, happier person in the interim, or while you do that. That's it for now. Ciao, ciao. I will see you hopefully all tomorrow. Bye bye.